Hi, Bo here from High Tech Investment, and welcome back to the channel, where today we're going to roll the Forex dice. We're going to talk about an EA that we actually started testing live trading since November 2024. It's going very, very well. So I want to share that, but this is part of a bigger series that I've been rolling out here for the past month, and it comes down to grid trading. And this particular EA also works on a grid. Now, if you haven't seen any of the videos here before, I certainly urge you to go and have a look at them. The first one I had was the Forex Grid Trading Explained. Basically puts in the carpet for the area where you want to trade on different types of currencies, how you determine this. And the second part of the video here was the gap and lot size hacks. These two things are the basics. These are the most important things that you need to know when you are starting with your grid session EAs. It doesn't really matter if it's the one I'm showing you here today, or if you have other ones that I haven't even tested yet. You can still use those particular tools, and also the calculations in here. You can still do them on your side. Now, obviously, I've made a few more videos now specific for both the Wave and the RSI Liberator versions that also use the grid in here. And this particular one is now for the lucky trader. The lucky trader has a specific way of entering, and it is a bit like a casino again here, where the entry is pretty much random. So that means that it becomes a bit difficult also to do certain back testings. You will have different types of results, but we have a hack for this one, of course, too. Now, a lot of the EAs that we talk about and also has grid trading entered into it is the ones you see on the screen here. The first ones that we actually got into was the Profit Retriever. Since then, we have then moved on to other ones to try and test them over long term. So that also means that we have quite a few years experience with this particular setup now. And that's why we now feel that it is time to try and share it. Also to make sure that your trading experience hopefully gets a bit safer and also a bit more profitable. Now, some of the tools in the first video and the second one in here shows you a bit on the different currency pairs. So how much they reach, what are the extent that they go to sometimes when currency pairs trend. We use those data in here today. And that's also why it's very important that if you haven't seen the other two videos, you go back, you have a look at them, come in here, because then it will make a lot more sense to you at the end of the day. We also showed you some tools where you yourself can actually enter the data in there that you want to trade and see if actually the account is blowing up or not. That's another very, very important note before you ever start putting real money behind it. So this is normally the point where I'm going to tell you, okay, this is what we're going to backtest and this is how you're going to backtest it. But for this particular EA in here, well, there's nothing to backtest. Everything is basically set up based on the first videos that we have done. When you have that data in here, we have made a little math calculation based on our prior experience. So with not only this particular EA, because that only goes back, as I mentioned, to November 2024, but also for other grid trading robots, we see similar results for different currency pairs. And that is obviously also what we are using with our experience. So it is easy to move forward. And what you're going to get is actually these results in here. These are the results from April. They are looking pretty good. And obviously April was also a really good month. Why is that? Well, there was a lot of volatility in the market, which actually the grid trading EAs love in here. And because of the US trading going up and down, uncertainties, and then changes in the progress, then obviously that's what we got. And we are very, very happy with this. It's one of our best EAs. So I'm going to show you here today exactly how it works and how you can set it up yourself. And if you don't want to do that, then at least you'll know how we trade it in the future. Now, the Lucky Trader is a very simple EA. What you're looking at here on the screen is pretty much the entire programming that you have here on the left-hand side. So there's not too many entry points here. There's not too many exit points. Well, actually, there's no entry points at all. It is completely random. and that is why it's a roll of the dice. But the one we are actually looking at here today is the Lucky Trader EA, and it's version 3, so it's the latest one that we have available to us. So you'll see that the provider is Expert Forex, and that is the one we're going to be testing. If you want to set it up yourself on an MT4 or MT5 platform, just make sure that you have the common settings set up for long and short positions in here. You can enable alerts, allow live trading is obviously important, and then also allow the DLL imports and imports of external experts. These are the final settings that you have to do before you put it pretty much on the chart. Now the entire settings, as I said, is here, so it's on the screen, where some of the other EAs, they have a lot more details. Mostly they'll have an entry point and an exit point, and they will also have some settings regarding the grid trading strategy itself. Obviously this particular one has it too, but it doesn't have an entry strategy. It's locked by draw, so basically roll of the dice, as I mentioned before. So that is the entry. It is random. That's also why you can obviously backtest it, but you'll get various results every single time. So very simple settings in here, a very simple EA. That's what we love about it. The first parts up here refers back for the price grab, and this is what I mentioned for the video 1 and 2 in here. It's very important that you go and have a look at those in order to understand where these numbers are coming from, because these are set for every single currency pair. Then we have the ones in green, which is allowed buy or sell at the same time. This creates an extra profit in here, so obviously leave that on. That's definitely recommended. Otherwise you could also have long terms where you won't have any profits coming in at all. And then start pruning. This is also a standard setting that we have for all our EAs based on how we have done with the grid trading. Now the two sections that we have to look at here today, so because everything else, as I mentioned earlier, was already set, that is the check profits in PIV and the hidden take profit. So this is how you get out of a single trade. So if you have set a trade and it goes with you in here, when is it going to close? And the other one is the orange one down here. So that's the target profit and amount, and target profits in pips. And that is basically when you have 2 or more trades, when you have a series of open trades, then that's how that actually is going to close. So all of this we're going to go through and show you exactly how we calculate this. Now with the Lucky Trader, it's a very simple setup for the EA itself, as I just mentioned here before. So normally this is how we set up for individual currency pairs that we are trading. You can see today we are actually talking about the Great British Pounds Canadian. It doesn't really matter which one it is at the end of the day. Then we have on top up here, we have the longest. This refers to the longest trend and also refers to the first video that I showed you earlier on here on the screen, where we explained the grid trading itself. We find the carpet, so that means the longest trends before we see reversals. If we can get that right, that means that we can cover it any given time, no matter what happens in the markets, and especially what has happened in 2025. So with trade wars, everything else, then definitely this comes in very handy, because we also adding another safety. So that means that 1500, so pips in this particular case in here is the maximum travel that we expect this currency here to do before there is a reversal. Then we add in also a safety section of 20%, and that then provides the number of 1800 pips in this particular case in here. As per the other videos that I've shown you before, we then divide the grid into 10 areas, so basically split it up. So that means that the grid gaps become 180, so that's quite a big gap for this, again in pips. But in order to also make some money on this, we're going to try and shrink basically down the grid. So we make that half of it, which basically gives us the number we are looking for here to enter into our EA today. And that particular number is 90, as you can see. So the calculation and math is very simple. However, it is built on some of the live testing we have done over time. It's also coming back to some of the currency pairs we tested on other EAs, where we find some of these details in here. And if you think about it again, so it is important that we start off with smaller grid sizes and then basically open up the grid. And how we do this is obviously the price gap that we have here. So that particular one is the same one you have up here. After that, then what we went into here was the gap scaling start. Basically starts after the first entry. So that means if the price goes against you, it's going to open up another grid. And for that particular one, it means again that you will have the 90 pips plus the gap scaling rate of 20% in this particular case here. So that will open up with an additional 18 in here on top of the 90. So basically 108, and then it will run from there. We have the lot trade entry that is already set. If you have noticed on the second video, we get into the lot sizing itself. And again, with that particular setup here, then normally a lot size of 0.03 is the max that you can actually have and then still be alive at the end of such a trend. If you feel more safe about it, you can basically drop it further down and then increase it once that you think it is safe. We also have a lot multiplier. Normally the lot multiplier can basically just stay around 1, but we also want to have a fast recovery. So normally what we find is 1.1 is a bit better, means that slowly but surely as the grids are getting bigger, also the lots for the new ones are being set slightly higher. And that means that once the price basically retracts or returns at least part of it, that means and instead of we have to wait maybe for 60% of return of the previous price when we entered, we might get away with just 40 or 50%. And that also means we get faster out of the trade at the end of the day. We have slightly higher drawdown, but we're willing to take that one as long as we have all the other safety parts set in here. The next part is obviously, and this is very simple because there's two sections. This is the take profit. There's no entry at all. As I said, this one is random. So now the whole idea is how to get out of the trades again. And for the particular blue one in here, that means that for the single trade, so if the trade goes with us, where do we want to get out again? And again, we have made it very, very simple. And it again makes sense for us when we look at the graph, because it's just not random numbers, but more of an average what we have seen over a lot of other EAs. We have taken the initial take profits. So on this particular EA in here, that's actually what the broker sees. And the hidden take profits that you have in here, that is the real number. As you can see, the 45 is half of the grid size in here. So we picked that particular one. We don't want to go all the way up to 90 pips. That will not work on long term. So we set that basically 50%. Again, it's a math calculation, straightforward. And then the initial take profit, you don't actually have to set that one, but that has been put in there in case you have some dodgy brokers in here. Then the brokers will see your take profits at 54, but you actually have a hidden target of only 45. So again, that means that you can trick the broker, but on the other hand, you shouldn't be needing it. You should find a different broker if that's actually going to be the case. But we are using it because we set it up mathematically. So as soon as the grid is there, these numbers will also come out and correct itself. So it's very, very easy to set this particular one up. As we said, no back testing at all. If we go further, then if the price goes against us, so that means it goes the wrong way in here, then we also have a way of dealing with that. And that is now the target closure. And this is for all the trades. So that means that when we have 2 or more trades, then you close. And this is actually set for 7 because we see, again, most of the EAs around in here, it's the standard, what the EA came with. A lot of the EAs come with 7 pips. When we do a lot of backtesting, most of the stuff we see lies between 5 and 6. and up until around 13, 14. So we might give a bit of profit away, but we want to play it safe because most of the ones we can see that 7 pips actually works, and it also works for this particular EA in here. So the target closure is another one. You do actually have to do this. You can either do it by dollars, so that will be 45. And again, the 45 is taken from the price gap in here. So 50% of that, and then closure in pips. So everything goes straight forward. There's nothing that you have to consider otherwise or go to the graphs. And the last part is start pruning on all of our EAs. We have actually set this particular one up to 8 and also allow buy and sells. Everything is in here. So it means it will trade both ways at the same time. Not good for the US market, but everybody else cashing in extra. So as you can see, once you have the first part set up in here, everything else pretty much falls into place, and then you are ready to trade. And again, now I've taught you how to set this particular one up, but also if you still think that trading is not for you, you rather want to leave it to somebody else to do these calculations, then obviously we have our coupling service, but at least you now will understand also of how we actually develop these particular settings and what works and what doesn't. Actually comes from years of experience behind the scenes here, and that's why we also have, for the Lucky Trader right now, we have 16 accounts in here. We are planning on getting there up to around 20, I think, because we really like it, and it has shown some great results as I've already shown you in here. So, and the question is simply, so which ones you want to pick in the future? That's entirely up to you. We are making everything freely available. So, and some of the numbers that you can see here since we started back in November 2024, you can look at the weekly returns. It's 0.3 or 3% on $1,000 accounts because we trade all of them on $10,000 demo accounts at the moment. Monthly returns is on average then 13% for $1,000 accounts. And then you can see the history is now 200 days. So a lot of data, a lot of information. And the graph is quite nice. This is here where we had the US tariffs come into play, cashed in big time, so very nice. Since then, from November, you can see you had a very good month back then, very volatile month of more than 2,300. Then December and January actually dropped a bit, 1,400, 1,100, and also February and March were a bit on the slow side, both with 1,300. And then have a look at April in here, $4,203. And that's actually what the Lucky Trader can do for you if you use similar settings to what I've just shown you here today. So how do you get started? Well, you go to the hightechinvestment.com website in here. We're on it right now. And the first thing you'll actually see on the site itself is the latest news report, where you can always go and find the weekly details and updates on what is actually happening on the individual EAs on our trading platforms. What kind of money are they making on a weekly basis? And the other one you have in here is normally a recommended video that we have, one of the new ones. This particular one is from the RSI Liberator versions in here. But we'll take you on to the portfolio where you'll see a lot more of our EAs. All of them are covered in here, similar to what I showed you in the beginning. We have the Lucky Trader here, and when you click, you'll find more details and information for this particular EA, what it actually can do, and also the weekly returns that we have. So from the last 4 weeks that you have in here, you can basically set up your portfolio based on these particular parts in here. As I said, we have 16 different currency pairs at the moment. We also have the videos for the Lucky Trader, and these are the 2 videos that I mentioned here earlier on, the Forex grid trading explained and the gap and lot size hack. In here, these are very important. We'll give you the numbers that we are discussing in this video today. We also have 4 months back, so basically from January to April right now. So you can see on a more long term what kind of profits can actually be had. And then we have the FX Blue accounts in here. If you want to see more of it, you can go to the full-blown one that will tell you everything you need to know about profits and drawdowns, how many trades has been done. And if you get to the bottom of the page, you will find individual currency pairs also here. Some of them are on the copy link service, other ones are not yet, but you can still go click individual ones, go to the FX Blue, and you can see how well they have done, which kind of portfolio you want to actually put together for yourself. We have Expert Forex links in here also, and the place where you want to go, I'll make sure that that is in the video description below, is actually with Expert Forex. The first time when you get here, it says link to success robot trades. You can see all the different robots that are available and for sale in here. But if you don't want to buy them, you can basically go and copy them instead. And this is what we're discussing here today. So link to success, click on the link up here, and then it will basically tell you everything that you need to know about how to get started, what kind of money you actually need. There will also be some steps in here, videos that Expert Forex has for you. And then there's an Excel with some of all the links that can be actually accessed here, even suspended accounts that might have too high of a drawdown or not enough profits. In here, you'll also see the robots used. There's quite a few of them. And again, down here, LT is the lucky trader. So that is obviously very important one. Risk analysis information that you have available. And further to this, you have the Excel that we normally use, the account risk analysis information in here. You'll notice that you can set this particular one up. So for different types of ways, how much profits they made. So if you do that, you'll find out that we have a lot of accounts in here, especially ending with C. That seems to be working out quite well for a lot of different traders. And even down here, you'll also notice that a new portfolio has been set up. Again, with a lot of our accounts in here doing extremely well. And that's also why you can obviously get some similar results. A lot of people have already been doing this for years. So I urge you to go in, have a closer look, and see if this is something that you want to start off with now. So there you have it, very, very simple EA, but when you roll the dice, it looks like this particular one here is certainly cashing in quite nicely. We are extremely happy with it. We have shown you how easy it is to set up. The math behind it is all about logic at the end of the day. If you are watching the other videos, as I mentioned to you, then it's going to be very easy. You can take that particular currency pair and then adapt that to anyone else if you want to start trading your own lucky trader here today. Just don't forget that you and you alone are still responsible for your trading. So make sure that it is safe and secure and you understand what it is that I've explained to you in here today. There's always risk, of course, with the Forex market, especially when it comes down to 2025 going forward. We can certainly see a couple of big holes here in the road ahead. But if you are trying to basically analyze and look forward and see, okay, what are the prior movements that we had, especially during COVID back in 2012, 16 and 2008. There was a lot of different things that happened in the Forex market. If you can try and predict that these things might happen in the future, make the gap size big enough, but where you can actually still make some profits, then that is the way to go. That is certainly the way we have decided to go. We know we can get even more profit out of our EAs, but we are happy with this because we can sleep at night, and that's what is important. We are not expecting to be a millionaire or billionaire by next week, and I never promised any such thing. It is hard work to be a trader, apart from what many other YouTubers are actually trying to show you. So with all those Ferraris and Lamborghinis, this is hard work, and we do a lot of this, especially over the weekends when the Forex is closed. But the good part about the lucky trader in here is you don't need to do all this back testing, as I said. It is about analyzing the markets. It's about just measuring the trend. And from there on, it is pretty easy. If you set something similar up with the calculations in there, maybe you want to use some slightly different calculations. It's entirely up to you. If you do, obviously, we would like to hear back from you and see if you have even better results than what we have here. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give us a thumbs up and a like, and also a comment if you have anything to add to this particular video here. We will happy answer any of your questions that you have. And then otherwise, I hope to see you on one of my next videos. So until then, bye bye.